June 27th to order. Barnstable Town Council, I'm going to make this announcement. In accordance with MGL Chapter 38, Section 20, I must inquire as to anyone recording this meeting. If so, please make your presence known. Seeing none, thank you for that. Roll call, please.
Councilors: Bloom,
Here.
Burdick,
Present.
Clark. Here. Crow,
Here.
Levesque,
Here.
Ludke,
Here.
Mendes, Neary,
Here.
Penn,
Present.
Schnepp,
Here.
Starr,
Here.
Tamish,
Here.
Turkelson.
Present.
We have 12.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but first it's my pleasure to introduce Sergeant First Class Richard Russell Gage, retired. Richard, or Rusty as he's called, is an 11th generation Cape Codder. He was raised in East Sandwich and permanently resides now in West Barnstable. Rusty was a licensed practical nurse for Cape Cod Healthcare for 29 years and in the United States Army Field Artillery for 22 years, stationed in West Germany, North Carolina, Greece, and did a tour in Iraq and actually 2 tours in Iraq. And we'd like to welcome and thank Sergeant Gage for his service.
Thank you.
If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You could all rise, right hand over the heart, and if we have any veterans out there, you are authorized to use the hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. I call on Barry Scheingold from the Infrastructure and Energy Committee.
Thank you. President Penn, Vice President Tamish.
Please make sure the mic is on. Is the green light on?
Yes, I'll get
Okay,
closer to that.
thank you.
Peter Doyle, a 35-year employee of the town of Barnstable and Vice Chair and former Chair of the town's Infrastructure and Energy Committee, passed away 2 weeks ago. I would like to say a few words in memory of Peter on behalf of the committee which I chair. Peter suffered from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which was diagnosed a number of months ago. Courageously, he decided to contribute to our committee after his diagnosis, and was extremely helpful to me as a newish committee member and a new committee chair. Peter said it gave him a sense of purpose. That was a key to Peter's life. In a video made by the town 10 years ago, celebrating Peter's longtime service as a water pollution control supervisor, Peter said his work's greatest accomplishment was removal of nitrogen from wastewater, and said his goal was to serve the community and save the world. He also demonstrated that sense of purpose through his volunteer work with the Barnstable Land Trust and his longtime service with the town's Infrastructure and Energy Committee during his retirement. His fellow committee members remember him as a thoughtful leader and a warm and generous colleague. He has been described as a sweet soul, and I think he has been a great example for us all. May his memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. So beautifully read. Thank you all. We are going to have an update now on Park City Wind Host Community Agreement. And Karen Nober has the mic.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, councilors. For the benefit of the public, I'm going to provide some background on the town's host community agreement, or HCA, with Park City Wind, and then I'm going to turn this over to our outside counsel to provide some additional information. We are providing this information now before the public comment portion of the meeting to ensure that the public will have an opportunity to speak on this matter. As many of you know, the town has met several times in executive session over the past few months regarding the Park City Wind proceeding before the Energy Facilities Siting Board, its impact on the host community agreement, and the town's litigation options. I'm going to tell you the decisions that were made by the council in those executive sessions and how the members of the council voted. But I want to be clear about what we will not be discussing. We are not going to discuss or disclose any of the legal advice that has been provided to the council. Legal advice is protected by the attorney-client privilege and is confidential. Last November, the town retained the services of the law firm of Anderson & Krieger to assist the town in this matter, and we have worked closely with our outside counsel, attorneys Colin Van Dyke and Ben Goldberger, who are with us tonight on Zoom. Both Colin and Ben have extensive government and private experience and expertise in environmental law, regulatory compliance, and enforcement. Colin previously represented the town in the Conservation Law Foundation Clean Water Act lawsuit and was successful in getting that lawsuit dismissed in federal court. So to begin with the background information, in 2018, the town council authorized the town manager to execute a host community agreement with Vineyard Wind for what was originally envisioned as 2 phases of an offshore renewable wind project coming ashore at Covell's Beach. Because the second phase was changed to a separate project with its cable landing moved from Covell's Beach to Craigville Beach, the town council authorized the town manager in September 2021 to negotiate a new HCA for the second project that would come ashore at Craigville Beach. The second project is the Park City Wind project. In October 2021, the town council authorized the town manager to execute on behalf of the town a second HCA, and in May of 2022, the town and Park City Wind entered into an HCA for the second project. The Park City Wind HCA addressed a number of the town's concerns related to the project, and the town agreed to support the project. The HCA also required the town to provide 2 easements to Park City Wind, under Craigville Beach and under portions of town streets, subject to town council approval. In June 2022, the town council authorized the granting of the easements, with the beach easement subject to approval by the legislature. In August of 2022, the legislature approved Article 97 legislation authorizing the town to grant the beach easement. In 2023, Park City Wind announced that due to changed market conditions, it was backing out of its power purchase agreement with Connecticut utility companies. Because Park City Wind no longer had a power purchase agreement, the town council voted in October of 2023 to direct the town manager not to issue the easements before the EFSB issued its decision on the Park City Wind project. The EFSB issued its decision in December 2023, specifying the landing spot for the cables and approving the specific route through the town to Park City Wind's proposed substation. Park City Wind is currently participating in the ongoing multi-state procurement for offshore renewable wind power purchase agreements, with award decisions in that procurement expected in August. In the last year or so, Barnstable residents and businesses have raised a host of concerns about the Park City Wind project and its potential impacts, some of which were not anticipated when the host community agreement was originally negotiated. Park City Wind's delay in starting the project created an opportunity for the town to go back to Park City Wind to see if we could address some of those concerns. On April 4th of this year, in executive session, the council voted to direct the town manager to commence negotiations with Park City Wind to try to obtain additional benefits and protections for the town. That vote was 9 yes, 3 no, with Councilor Burdick absent. The no votes were Councilors Crow, Lutke, and Turkelson. Since that April vote, the town's negotiating team met with Park City Wind representatives and reached agreement on the essential terms of a new side agreement between the town and Park City Wind that addresses many of the concerns raised by Barnstable residents and businesses. The essential terms of that side agreement were presented to the town council in executive session on June 13th. At that meeting, the council voted to direct the town manager to finalize and enter into a side agreement with Park City Wind that contained the essential terms. The vote was 7 yes, 5 no, with Councilor Neary absent. The no votes were Councilors Crow, Lutke, Penn, Tamish, and Turkelson. Under that side agreement, which was executed earlier this week, the town will provide Park City Wind with the easements and the other support required by the host community agreement, and the town will receive significant additional protections and benefits. The easements will be placed in escrow pending Park City Wind receiving a bid award in the multi-state procurement and subject to Park City Wind's parent company, Avangrid Renewables, providing a corporate guarantee, at which point, but not until then, Park City Wind may record the easements. The side agreement does not impose any new obligations on the town. Rather, it sets forth the process for granting the easements which the town previously agreed to provide in the host community agreement. I'm now going to turn this over to Colin, who will describe the additional protections and benefits that the town will receive. Colin?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. Thank you. As Karen stated, my name is Colin Van Dyke. My colleague Ben Goldberger, who you can see on the screen as well, and I practice at the law firm of Anderson and Krieger. As Karen said, we've been working with the town council, the town manager, the town attorney's office on this matter for the past several months. We're glad to be joining you tonight for the purpose of describing the key features of the recently executed side agreement between the town and Park City Wind. I'm going to review the provisions of that side agreement in some detail. You will see my eyes will be reading my notes because I want to be both thorough and careful in describing to you the provisions of that agreement. First, the agreement provides that the parties reaffirm the terms of the host community agreement previously entered into, including the town's commitment to cooperate with Park City Wind and Park City Wind's commitments to mitigate potential environmental risks from the project, Park City Wind's commitment to construct the new substation in accordance with certain agreed upon engineering design protocols, and Park City Wind's commitment that its transmission lines will not be used for any future project that may be proposed for Nantucket Sound. Second, in order to address some of the concerns expressed about potential environmental and safety impacts of the project, Park City Wind has agreed to provide protections over and above its obligations under the host community agreement and the activities required by its Energy Facilities Siting Board approval. Park City Wind will both provide insurance coverages requested by the town, including a contractor's pollution liability insurance with a $20 million limit during construction, and a premises pollution liability insurance policy with a limit of $20 million during operation of the project. In both cases, Park City Wind's insurance will name the town as an additional insured. And that $20 million limit for the premises pollution liability insurance policy will be adjusted every 5 years during the operation of the project to adjust for inflation. Park City Wind will monitor and undertake remedial measures, including but not limited to beach nourishment, to address any superficial exposure of the transmission lines or changes in depth of cover over the transmission lines on Craigville Beach that pose an unacceptable risk to human health or the environment, including from magnetic fields or thermal impacts. Park City Wind agrees to compensate the town for costs incurred to address any damage or other adverse impacts on the town's utilities caused by the transmission line. The third feature of this side agreement is that the town and Park City, it addresses the town and Park City Wind's ongoing discussions about ways to coordinate the project and the town sewer construction work to minimize the impacts of road work required for each. To help achieve that goal, Park City Wind will develop a duct bank construction schedule and share that with the town. Park City Wind will coordinate with the town on construction within the historic district the Centerville Historic District, to ensure timely performance. Park City Wind will post weekly progress reports on a publicly available website and will communicate daily with the Department of Public Works about logistics and schedule changes within the historic district. Park City Wind will oversee public communications and public and private meetings with residents and abutters, including responding to complaints and engaging in conflict resolution if needed. Park City Wind's agreed to provide a construction and sequencing plan to the town by June 30th of 2025 in consultation with the town and state officials. And Park City Wind will provide an emergency response plan working with Barnstable's Department of Public Works and the local fire districts. That there will be a construction phase of that emergency response plan that will be provided at least 90 days before the start of construction. And there will be an operation phase plan that will be provided at least 90 days before electricity starts flowing to the substation. The fourth feature of the agreement addresses concerns expressed about the potential impacts of the project to local businesses and cultural institutions. Park City Wind is committing to provide compensation for businesses and cultural institutions along the project route that are negatively impacted by the project. Compensation will be based on reasonably demonstrated financial losses directly associated with Park City Wind's construction activities within 200 feet of the affected establishment, when the construction activities prevent guests and customers from accessing the businesses and cultural institutions. A more detailed plan laying out exactly what that process will look like will be presented in the future for the town's comment. All compensation discussions will occur directly between Park City Wind and the affected establishments, but Park City Wind has agreed to pay for the cost of mediation if that's required, and Park City Wind has agreed to an expedited arbitration process, again if required, to ensure that affected businesses and cultural institutions can obtain reasonable relief. Fifth, in order to offset certain costs incurred by the town and to mitigate certain project impacts, Park City Wind has agreed to provide the town with 4 types of direct financial compensation. You may know that under the host community agreement, Park City Wind agreed to pay the town a lump sum of up to $16 million over the life of, agreed to pay up to $16 million over the life of the project. Under this side agreement, Park City Wind is going to pay that full $16 million as a lump sum when it closes on construction financing for the project. In addition, Park City Wind is going to provide $5.5 million to the town to improve roadways and sidewalks along the public ways impacted by the project. Park City Wind will provide another $2.4 million to cover additional sewer construction costs the town may incur to ensure that there's adequate separation between the town's sewer lines and Park City Wind's transmission lines. And Park City Wind is agreeing to make a monetary donation to the Barnstable Public Schools in the amount of $500,000 to support the high school's environmental science and technology lab, subject to acceptance by the superintendent and approval by the school committee. Sixth, in order to address the residents' concerns that Park City Wind may be unable to meet its obligations in the future, the town has obtained additional protections, including the following. If Park City Wind fails or refuses to perform its obligations with respect to construction, maintenance, repair, replacement, or operation of the transmission lines, the town can take the matter into a dispute resolution process provided by the host community agreement. If the matter is not resolved, the town may undertake Park City Wind's obligations, and Park City Wind will reimburse the town for its reasonable costs. In the event there is an emergency presenting an immediate material risk to human health, safety, or the environment, the town may undertake work on its own to mitigate such risk, and Park City Wind will reimburse the town for the same. And as Karen mentioned, Park City Wind's parent, Avangrid Renewables LLC, will provide a guarantee of up to $30 million for payments or reimbursements required by the host community agreement or the side agreement, including if Park City Wind fails to perform its obligations with respect to maintenance, repair, replacement, or operation of the transmission lines, and the town incurs costs to address those issues itself. Lastly, the side agreement provides that Barnstable will execute, and the town manager has executed 2 easements, one under Craigville Beach and one under portions of the town streets, as agreed to in the host community agreement. These easements were not provided directly to Park City Wind. They have been placed in escrow to be held in our office. These easements will not be released to Park City Wind until all of the following have occurred. Park City Wind must receive a bid award for the project from the ongoing procurement process. The new side agreement has to be ratified and approved by Avangrid Renewables Board, and the guarantee from Avangrid Renewables has to be delivered to the town. Until all 3 of those things have happened, the easements will not be delivered to Park City Wind. In addition, if Park City Wind does not receive a bid award by December 15th, 2026, which is the date when its Energy Facility Siting Board approval expires, the easements shall automatically terminate. Also, if Park City Wind receives a bid award and the easements are released, but the construction has not commenced by December 15th, 2026, the easements will terminate. Park City Wind has made significant additional commitments to give the town more clarity, more control, more reasons to be confident that we'll be protected from anticipated and unanticipated impacts from the project. That concludes our presentation tonight. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, Colin. We're going to go in, since this is not a Q&A session for the council, we're going to go straight to public comment at this time. Please make sure that you sign in, you tell us who you are, and we'd like you to please, although it's difficult, I know, keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, councilors, and President Penn, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Pete Sampu from West Barnstable. As you know, I have an advanced degree in oceanography and have presented facts regarding misinformation to environmental concerns associated with offshore wind development. I'm glad I'm not a lawyer and that you have hired someone else who's much better at that. I'm a scientist by training. But today I'd like to bring to your attention the level of support offshore wind has from citizens and our elected officials. By a margin of 3-1, the general population of Massachusetts supports offshore wind, and the reference to that is the 17th of January 2024 Cape Cod Times. Lieutenant Governor Driscoll was quoted as saying, "We're making Massachusetts a global leader in the fight against climate change." That is from the 11th of April of this year. Rapid transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energy is critical in winning this global existential crisis. Governor Healy has said that offshore wind workers are on the front lines of our climate change response, building the infrastructure we need to deploy affordable, clean energy to Massachusetts. President Biden's National Climate Advisor, Ali Zadie, is quoted in April that, quote, "Approval of the New England wind project continues a surge of momentum to grow the American wind industry. This is a win-win-win for workers, communities, and our ability to tackle the climate crisis," end of quote. I'd like to add another win to those 3 previous. The coming ashore in Barnstable is a big win for our town and all the benefit it brings to us, as was told to us much just recently by our legal advice. So please support this quadruple win-win-win-win with your saying yes to having cable landfall on our southern shores. Thank you for your attention. Good evening.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Jones. Pete, I don't consider this a win for Centerville. I spoke a couple weeks ago. We have 11 businesses that will lose $1.89 million during the construction phase of this project. I have documents from the Barnacle and the Craigville Pizza. They were never paid business litigation. So basically, we got screwed. We have 31 full-time positions, 60 volunteers, and 14 part-time positions. We have a historic downtown Main Street. $8 million is nothing for Park City Wind to take the alternative route. And I don't consider this a win. I don't consider it a win for the businesses. I feel like they weren't supported. And never mind that, the historic homes along the route, some of them are 30 feet within the cables. And I can't imagine anyone wanting cables 30 feet from the bedroom, the house right after the Fernbrook. That will be the situation with her. So I guess the way that I feel is $500,000 to the town of Barnstable. Maybe $200,000 should be paid to the Centerville Historic Museum because they will not survive the closure. So between $1.89 million for 2 seasons for several businesses, owning a bed and breakfast, you cannot rent a room with construction on your street. And I truly believe, regardless of what Avangrid says, past behavior predicts future behavior. They're disingenuous, they're not trustworthy, and they put out false information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Joseph Conway. I've lived here since 1978. I've been on the hospital staff for 45 years. I've been chief of staff at the hospital. I've been on the board of directors of the hospital. I'm on a corporator of the hospital. And it seems that, talk about the wind farm, the wind apparently has been taken out of our sales, it seems, with the presentation that was just presented. Perhaps you've all read the Wall Street Journal today and saw the full-page ad taken out by Avangrid talking about how wonderful they are that they're rebuilding all the wind farms throughout many locations in the world due to the fact that their 20-year lifespan is now corroded and most of them are not working. I was going to present and ask you once again to look carefully and read carefully the presentation I made back in January, which we've given you all a copy of. Included in that is the bibliography, which you could use or could have used, giving actual proof and scientific evidence of the dangers of these high-powered cables in residential areas where they do not belong, namely the electromagnetic fields, the threat to our soil aquifer, and the thermal changes both to the seabed and to our aquifer that we drink from, and the raising of the bacterial counts that will have to be dealt with. But be that as it may, you've gone over these points many, many times, I'm sure. I don't not feel that Avangrid has ever presented any true scientific evidence. They tell us these power cables are no more dangerous than a hairdryer, which is absolutely absurd. If they had any scientific knowledge at all, they're of different frequency, different amplitude waves, and they're not like a hairdryer. So I was going to ask you to, use your authority and your responsibility to the health of the Barnstable residents and to put and say no to this project as best you can. But it seems that perhaps that's gone by the wayside at this point. So I've provided scientific data that you could use to back up your opposition. And if there is a chance of stopping this experiment on our town and our people, I would urge you to do so. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Good evening. Cliff Carroll, lifelong resident of Barnstable. Been a mortgage banker for about 45 years, real estate developer for a long time, and I own 2 different real estate companies now. I'm only saying that with a business background because pretty much I also have done a lot of business in Boston, and as far as I'm concerned, this decision that was made was under duress. It was pretty much almost under extortion, being threatened with lawsuits. And I understand Anderson Krieger, I don't even know if they're still in the call, but kind of disgusting. To those town councilors that did vote no, we know who you are. Thank you very much for having the guts. The other ones, I know some of them made a financial decision which was required No matter what that decision is, it does not relieve the town of its requirement to use our Board of Health to measure the well fields, map the well fields, and show where the soil can go. You've still got 400 to 500,000 gallons of oil projected for West Barnstable. Saturday at the West Barnstable Civic Center, Avangrid did another, what I would call, dog and pony show. However, at that particular meeting on Saturday, they finally admitted that they're going to be building or trying to build a transformer substation on the 27-acre site at the fire tower in West Barnstable. Patrick Johnson, their spokesman, directly to me, admitted that the 200,000-gallon estimate of the containment of oil in that project is accurate. That's the highest point of land over the well fields, up gradient of all the people in West Barnstable who are on wells, and also up gradient of the common well fields directly across Route 6. It's also up gradient of the projected 5.6 million gallon Bridge Creek backup well field that's projected to protect our town water. Again, I understand that this was made under duress. I think it's almost disgusting, this outcome, but we're going to keep fighting. But you still, outside of the wind farm, our Board of Health needs to map where these oil will go. We have the ability, the maps exist. We can't keep turning a blind eye to this just for money. It's disgusting. And I'm going to just stop talking while I'm ahead of the game. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Emily McClure-Santalese. I'm a public health-minded family physician, and I would like to continue this little dialogue we've just started about the transformer oils and what is in them. Yes, indeed, many of them are toxic. I undertook a study. I don't know whether you have a copy of the table I put together concerning the high-volt 2 proposed transformer oil or its alternative, one of the mineral oils. It turns out mineral oils, and in some situations, rapeseed, soy oil, have been used in transformers many times. So if this has, in fact, reached the point of no return and no turning back, I would at least ask that those who can work with the engineers from Park City Wind, I understand from their attorney there is an engineering panel, then say, we absolutely require that you put the least toxic combinations of compounds into these wells, something that is already used in human food. So a rapeseed, a soy oil, or a very short fraction of mineral oil. As with the transformer oils, as you may see on the table, I have learned that mineral oil is not all the same thing. It's not all what you can buy over at CVS or Walgreens. It comes in a variety of lengths of carbon chains, and those that are the least toxic are those that are 6 carbons or less. If the engineers can say that, they can get adequate performance in the transformers, the big switches, the high voltage switches, and the circuit breakers of a substation through the use of a least toxic, human-approved mineral oil. That might be one thing to do, but to give them carte blanche to put anything within these transformers, switching things, switching apparatus in a substation is really asking for big trouble down the way in terms of contaminating the only aquifer we have. This would be a travesty for the life of humans, all the animal life, both freshwater and saltwater that would eventually be exposed to these toxins, as well as those in agriculture who depend on decent fresh water for the marketability of their crops. So please look at the long view here, not just the short view, and realize there may just be some less toxic alternatives. So thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Barbara Farrenholz, and I am a volunteer, board member, and past president of Centerville Civic Association. So I'm coming at at some arguments on the side of, get rid of it. Okay. I grew up in a small town, and I'm also a retired math teacher. I grew up in a small town in New Jersey. Buildings on Main Street were of the 1800s vintage. Eventually, people from Jersey City, which is right next to New York City, moved to the country and took over the government of the town. I moved away, and when I returned, the historic buildings had been totally replaced by mini malls. Okay, so why am I here? I am now living on historic Main Street in Centerville. And I've been here now for 20 years, and I love it. And I would like it to stay historic Main Street. First, two important statements, and you may already know these. Number one, the Centerville Historical Museum has been voted the #1 hidden gem museum in Massachusetts by the Boston Globe. Well, that was amazing. We were thrilled because we are a small museum. We're right on Main Street. The second thing is, Main Street, Centerville, is the last remaining untouched historic street on Cape Cod. Believe that or not, it's true. Okay, so now I'm talking about a museum. The other folks behind me have talked about the health aspects of everything. So I'm going at it a little different way. What purpose does a historic museum serve? Do we really need them? I love it, absolutely love it. I've been there for 20 years and I've done everything I could. It shows how local people lived and how national and international events affected the area. It tells how in the 1800s a mom dealt with the possibility of never seeing her 9-year-old son again as she waved goodbye when he boarded a ship to work as a helper, or a husband's grief as his first and second wives both died in childbirth. This is life back then. We have about 50 volunteers, some of whom arrange and change exhibits showing how Centerville people dealt with marriage, education, holidays, births, deaths, local and national government. All of this comes from our collection, valuable collection, of objects, documents, diaries, photographs, maps, furniture, clothing, you name it, we have it. Learning about, so again, why is that important? A lot of people say, a historic museum, I don't want to go. However, learning about local history can help us see who we are today. We have...
Barbara, your 3 minutes are up. If you could finish up, please.
Okay, I will. The museum would not survive financially if it was closed for portions of the 2 years. It will not. We have one director. We have no local, state, or federal support. We rely on members of our community. We do see about 6,000 visitors a year. Thank you.
Suzanne Conley, Osterville. This is a gut punch. I just want to be clear. It's a gut punch. Those of you who voted for this have sold out the health and safety of the people of Barnstable. And I don't think you should be proud of yourself. And I don't think one citizen who comes up here and spews the crap that this is going to save the planet should be listened to. Because it's not. And even BOEM says that in numerous filings they have left on the dockets. So tonight, Avangrid has won. They were told just a couple of days ago how many marine mammals they can kill, so big win for them this week. And now they've heard, go ahead and take Craigville Beach, one of the biggest economic drivers of this town. The people who have lost are the people who use that beach and the people of the Waquaket neighborhood who are going to live in fear that the substation being built right above their homes is going to catch fire or explode. They lost. On Tuesday, I asked the Board of Health of the town of Barnstable to do a complete analysis of the public health and safety implications of all 3 of these projects. And our group and Barnstable Speaks and hundreds of other residents of this town are going to continue to pursue that avenue. We understand democracy, but those of you who voted for this, I won't say it, but the disappointment we're feeling tonight is real. Those of you who voted to stop it, thank you. The fight is not over. I told the Board of Health that as far as I was concerned, it's on the town council and the town administration to provide them with the resources they will need to do this thorough study. And if it takes action on our part, legal action, we'll go that route to get that done. This has to be done. Okay, so no matter what you guys agree to tonight, we are still going to pursue this. We're going to fight this rapacious company, this local corporate squatter who insists on taking over our recreational beaches, our village centers, our neighborhoods, and our woodlands.
My name is Barry Scheingold. I'm the chair of the town's Infrastructure and Energy Committee, but I'm speaking solely in my individual capacity. I've spoken several times in favor of the large benefits of the Park City Wind Project in addressing our existential climate change challenge. I've urged that the town honor the host community agreement and that the town and Avangrid sit down together and resolve any outstanding issues that make the project better for the town. And this can be done through additional mitigation measures, additional benefits to the town and its residents, or preferably both. Well, that apparently is what the town has done, and I support it, and I thank you.
Good evening, Roberta Mock, 80 Greenwood Ave, Hyannis. Collateral damage. The right whales, the sea life, the food that we eat, the air that we breathe. We are being sold a lie that wind power is green. It is absolutely not green. It's not going to fill the need that we have of increasing use of electricity. It won't even touch it. Money's being doled out to pay for this and that, but where is it coming from? Is it really Avangrid that's paying for it? Or is it coming out of the taxpayer's pocket? Because we're being mandated to pay for all of these things. I mean, we've got the possibility of a toll bridge coming our way. This isn't just the first wind farm. There's going to be more, to the point that we're going to be imprisoned by windmills. Why would anyone want to come to Cape Cod if they have to pay toll to go over our bridge, to come to our beaches with dead zones? It's not natural. What happened to respecting nature and migratory wildlife? Are our priorities out of order? Yes, they are. They're totally out of order. Our forefathers did not live like this. They did without. They were fighters to preserve and protect. And we're selling out for convenience. It's sad. I don't want to be part of this generation that allows these lies to continue. Yes, collateral damage. We need to fight this. This is coming as though we were from a communist country. We're being told that this is what we have to do. It's a lie. We don't have to do that to preserve and protect nature. We should not have to give up right whales just so that we can have more electricity. We're being lied to. We have to do everything we can to be vigilant, to protect Cape Cod. I see battles all over the whole world fighting wind farm, fighting this lie that's being sold to us all over the world. Australia, the farmers of Australia, Scotland, England, France, Germany. I can go on. All over the world, if you take a look and see how many people, it's a lie that there's a majority that want wind farm. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. We have to fight. We have to fight to protect and preserve nature. It's a gift, from a God-given gift that it's our responsibility. Please. Wherever we can say no to this, do not listen to the lies. Say no. We're going to fight. And don't say in your head,
Bertie, your 3
it's
minutes
already,
are up. If you could finish up, please.
thank you, I will. Thank you. They're trying to weaken us and say, it's too late. It's too late. It's not too late. We got to keep fighting because we're right to fight this. Thank you.
I'm Hector Gunther from Osterville. I agree with what Suzanne said, that this is a gut punch. Some number of us were speculating when we saw the change in the agenda and that the fact that we were going to be getting an update on the Park City Wind project, that we thought that there would have been some negotiations. It was clear that was going on. It was clear that Anderson Krieger was assisting in the process. What we had hoped for and what last November's election was based on was transparency. So a number of us speculated that we were going to be given an update on the negotiations, not that we were going to be told that the negotiations had been concluded out of public view without any input from the public, all of whom are represented here and online and will watch this tape. And my question has to do with the process that you all engaged in. What was the rush to sign an amendment to the host agreement when our counterparty, Park City Wind LLC, doesn't even have the rights to generate this electricity because they haven't won the bid? They also have to negotiate PPAs with National Grid and Eversource. All of that is months away. So what I'm wondering, and I imagine a lot of Barnstable residents are wondering, is why now? And why was this yet again decided and voted on? And you say Mark Ellis negotiated amendments to this agreement this week. All of this was done out of public view without input from the members of the community who will be mightily impacted. There's some talk about some financial changes. And, I must say, I'm jumping for joy that instead of paying $16 million over 25 years, that Avangrid is going to pay $16 million up front. Big deal. For a $5 or $7 billion project, that's just a rounding error for them. They should have paid $200 or $300 or $400 million to the town day one, and $20 to $50 to $100 million each year that this infrastructure is in our town. So not only do I question the process, the fact that this was done out of public view, kudos to those of you who voted against this, but I also question the deal. This notion of the guarantee from Avangrid Renewables LLC, let's not forget, this is a limited liability company that if they run out of money, the guarantee is worthless. You can't enforce it if they put the company in bankruptcy. So why wasn't the guarantee gotten from Avangrid Inc., the parent company, or indeed from their soon-to-be wholly controlled company, Iberdrola? So my questions are about process, why now, and why was this done out of public view? Kudos to those of you who voted against it. For those of you who voted in favor of it, I think you have a lot of explaining to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bob Schulte from Centerville. Didn't expect to speak tonight. I understand this has been a complex and emotion-filled issue for both the town and members of the public. I'm personally extremely disappointed in the outcome of the council's vote on the matter, but I want to thank the 5 councilors that demonstrated the courage to vote no. I suspect this matter is not over, based on what you're hearing. I just want to comment and say that in spite of this council's decision tonight, it doesn't change the town's official position in opposition to Avangrid's proposal for the New England Wind 2 or Commonwealth Wind project on Dowsers Beach. You all know there's no HCA on that project, and I think that's a large part of why this decision was made tonight. And I just want to remind you, going forward, there is no HCA in this council. I hope they will maintain that position of opposition to the Dowsers Beach project in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Larry Morin from Cotuit, and I'm glad to be from Cotuit. I'm even prouder to be part of the town of Barnstable, and I know all of you, and I know some of you better than others. But what really matters here is I feel almost anticlimactic talking about this topic because this has nothing to do with anything else that's been talked about. The first item under old business is 024-228. The reappointment of a variety of different members of committees. They were already on the committee, and these are reappointments. And this is not a fault of the appointments committee. I have attended every single one of those meetings. They're doing a yeoman's job. They're communicating well with each other. They've arrived at protocol that is greatly improved week by week as they do it. What happened is that there were a number, I think it was 94 people or 94 positions that came up for reappointment, and the question is how can you process all of those and interview all of them? There should be interviews. The charter calls for interviews. The town code has language in it saying the people are supposed to be interviewed. And yet there's a vast majority listed in this group that were not interviewed because of expediency. The other thing that I have done in the last few weeks, actually longer than that, is put together a list of 6 committees, 3 of which are on this list, that have transfer or a donation or use of a member from one committee in another. The article, Chapter 241, requires or says that XYZ committee is to get somebody from this committee and somebody from that committee to make their committees. And yet, it just happens. It just is. It's a leapfrog during the middle of the night. It's like having a squirrel come up and eat from your bird feeder when it's dark. What we're talking about here is that there's no procedure by which these members of a committee are transferred to another committee. They're not transferred. They still stay there, but they suddenly wind up being multiple peoples on the same different committees. Those committees are the Community Preservation Committee, Elderly and Disabled, and the Hyannis Main Street. Looks like appeals. It's not. I think it might be the Appeals Committee. There's 3 other committees that I don't need to say. I've put together a memo. I'm going to fill it out, and I'm going to turn it into Felicia. I'm going to turn it into the Appointments Committee. I'm going to turn it into the ad hoc committees. I want you to look into these issues and why are this slipshod method of moving people around in committees without interviewing them, without vetting them, and without determining how they're performing. That is something I'm very concerned about. Ideally, I would love to see these 3 committee assignments tonight suspended. Give you time to investigate it. If you're happy with it, fine. But if you're not, then those appointments need to be vacated. But once it gets approved tonight, it's like the chicken's gone home. It's over. So those are my concerns, and I hope you give it serious consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, here we are.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm sorry. Joanne O'Connor from Centerville. Gut punch doesn't quite do it for me. It's far worse than that. It is, I feel so betrayed by this town and by the people who made this decision about money and not about the people who live in this town. Those of you who voted to keep us safe, to keep our businesses running, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hector said it. Avangrid is an LLC. They run into trouble. They're going to pick up their toys and go home. And guess who's going to be cleaning up the mess? The town of Barnstable. This is wrong. Our water, our marine life, our life as we know it in the center of Centerville is being challenged. And people are giving in way too easily to this company. Once again, I thank those who had the courage and to vote to keep us safe. And the rest of you, I hope you have a good, long look at yourselves tonight. Thank you.
Hi, my name
Please
is
sign in.
Henry.
Have you signed in?
Sorry,
It won't count against your time, we promise.
it's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, once again, my name is Indri, and I'm here today because my office, I work on Hyannis Main Street, right where the corner where the Center Street and the waterfront and Main Street, all that intersection, my office is right over there. And every day, because my office is all windows all around, so I see what's going on over that corner. Every day, it's like, yesterday, somebody almost got run over by a vehicle because they're not paying attention, and, you know, people goes across the road thinking that they're gonna stop, but they don't. And I saw, like, kids crossing the street. We have, like, I don't know, this summer, feels like there are a bunch of kids crossing from by the transportation center all the way to Main Street, like probably about 30 of them. And that street is so busy. It's like cars don't slow down. I feel like they try to go faster to catch the lights, to make it the green, you know? And it's just so dangerous. I feel like that this is a downtown, you know, not like a big road, and people should be able to cross safe, you know, and because a lot of people walking around, especially now in the summertime, on Main Street. So I just feel like probably if you can look into it, and because I don't know who else, you know, I don't know who else that I can talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Avi, AHVI Spindell. I'm the incoming president of the Wequaquet Lake Protection Association. And I came here tonight to listen. I have nothing prepared, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't say something on behalf of the 250 members who pay their dues and live along the shores of Lake Wequaquet. It's been the mission of the Wequaquet Lake Protection Association to try to keep that lake healthy and green. We've advocated for sewer because we know that would reduce the amount of nitrogen. We've advocated for expansion of the sewer. We advocate and educate our membership not to fertilize within 100 feet of the lake so as to reduce nitrogen and lake pollution. And we've recently been engaging in advocacy to prevent the substation from appearing right above the Fred Jenkins Cranberry Bog, one of the original members of the Ocean Spray Co-op, where this substation is going to sit. And there is no cure for an industrial accident should it take place. Now, I can't imagine what the leakage of any amount of dielectric electric oil would do as it slides down the hill onto the cranberry bog and into the lake. So we could kiss all of our property values goodbye. We could kiss the use of the lake goodbye. And you could kiss the pristine and seductive nature of the Cape Cod experience goodbye. This part of the Cape would never recover. It's amazing to me that any member who is serving on the town council would be willing to engage that risk when there are alternatives. They can send this power to some other location, a more industrial site. There are alternatives. You know what they are. So why would you put this entire region at risk and let them build a substation right above the sole source aquifer? I mean, I'm just astounded. So now I have the
3 minutes
obligation.
up, if you could finish up,
I
please.
will. Now I have the obligation to report to those 250 members about the vote that this town council made, and I don't think that you have any reason to be proud of it. You've done nobody any good service here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening? Cliff, you want to say another word? Can you do it in a minute?
I'll make this instantaneous, but Anderson Krieger, I don't know how much we're paying for that law firm, but basically when you go down this agreement that they negotiated, they're reaffirming the original bad agreement. They are giving $20 million of insurance. It's not enough if this spills. They're going to monitor the beach nourishment. Thank you very much after you destroy it. They're going to compensate the town's utilities, whatever that means. The town sewer, Duck Bank, Centerville Historic. That means we've already given up historic Centerville, which is incredible. They're going to respond to the public. They don't do it now. We also now know why Mark Ells hasn't returned our calls for about a month. The construction schedule, we were supposed to have one before. They didn't honor it. Emergency response operating 90 days before electricity. They're supposed to be doing that on the Vineyard Wind in Independence Park now, and that's already operating. So all you're doing is, all they did was negotiate what they should have done originally. Business compensation. Craigville Pizza almost went out of business. They haven't even gone back and given him the courtesy of a visit. $24 million, that's what all this money adds up to. They paid $60 million to violate their electric contract with the state. That's the type of people we're dealing with. They'll make this $24 million back probably in the first week with their triple electric charges that they're going to get on their newly negotiated purchase agreement that they're going to get because the town of Barnstable just handed them the keys to the city. This is becoming the town of Avangrid. Awful. Thank you for the extra minute.
All right, seeing nobody else, we have anybody online for public comment?
Thank you, we do. First, we're going to go with Michelle Scarlett. Michelle, you may unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Michelle Scarlett from Marston's Mills. I'm here in support of the community host agreement with Park City Wind. We sometimes forget why this agreement is so important. The climate emergency is here and we must respond. For the past year, we have had warmer temperatures each month than the year before. May is the hottest and wettest month on record since 1934. All over the earth, these warmer temperatures are causing problems with more frequent storms and drought, melting polar ice leading to sea level rise, increasing ocean acidity, and loss of species and habitat. Last month in Saudi Arabia, over 1,300 people died when the temperature reached 125 degrees. This temperature is beyond what the human body can endure. We have to respond. Offshore wind can benefit our environment and our community. Offshore wind can reduce our electric bills, reduce our carbon emissions by relying on a clean energy source, and provide long-term, well-paying jobs. We have the opportunity to be part of the solution and not kick the problem down the road. I am glad the town council and town Barnstable staff are working hand in hand with Park City Wind to bring this mutually beneficial agreement to fruition. And thank you to the town councilors who voted yes on this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Grove Harris. Grove, you may unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Grove Harris. I live in West Hyannisport. It's an honor to be hearing all of the members of this community speak from their hearts about a wide range of important feelings and issues. And
wind can reduce our electric bills, reduce our carbon emissions by relying on
I'm
a clean
hearing
energy source.
Michelle now. Okay, so I actually want us to move forward with as much continuing call for transparency about all the issues going forward in terms of the science. I think there's been a lot of misinformation, and I think we have a chance to do great service to our nation, to our world, and to other projects like this who are moving forward with a challenging adventure. If we could have had all these wind farms done on land, that would have been better. But having it done in the ocean, it's important. The issue I actually want to put on the table is from the wastewater management workshop that I heard, and I want to ask this town to reconsider one piece of it. I think we need to allow people to do sewering of their black water and not their gray water. We have to have a full systems approach in everything. And we could allow people the choice to keep their sink water and their shower waters running right into their existing septic systems where water would be disseminated locally and reduce the amount of sewering that we actually need and would reduce the prospect of how do we manage what comes out of the treatment plants. So I want to ask for this town and this whole community to continue with as much transparency and questioning so that we can zigzag our way forward to the best possible solutions under difficult circumstances. So again, the ick factor says, let's think about just sewering from our toilets and leaving everything else as is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are no additional speakers.
Okay. So council response to public comment is next. And Councilor Burdick constantly reminds me about Rule 6B. Would you like to tell us all what Rule 6B is?
Sure, I will. I wasn't prepared to, but I can speak on it.
I know you know it off the top of your head.
So Rule 6B is a town council rule that governs the length of time for speaking and debate. And it's 3 minutes, like with public comment. And as I've raised before, once or twice, it's a point of order. So, if possible, 3 minutes.
We'll see how we can do that.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Who has response to public comment who'd like to go first? Lots of comment. Council Clark.
Thank you very much, President Penn, and thank you to all those who spoke from your heart with passion for your perspective. I hear you. I've heard from constituents of Precinct 11 and beyond, and I very much value your input. Speaking to Larry Morin, I understand your concerns about these prescriptive assignments to committees, and I do want to say that as a member of the Appointments Committee, I am keenly aware that there are these assignments that get forwarded from one committee, say the Conservation Commission, to the Community Preservation Committee. And since there's a limited number of people on the committee, it depends on who steps up and volunteers. So there are also concerns about quorums. So if we leave a position vacant for too long, it's hard. And I have been a chair of a committee whose biggest job is to count heads to make sure we have a quorum to proceed with business. So that comes into the equation. For those concerned about the negotiations over Park City Wind, I've invested a lot of time and research. I've listened to the constituents. I've done my own research, and I heard and I made my living from marine life. Been a shellfish constable and been a shellfish farmer. But centuries ago, we put whales at risk because we used whale oil for energy. Then there was a discovery of the benefits of fossil fuels, and oil and gas replaced what whale oil used to provide for lighting lamps. And now I believe we're at the turn for renewables, that there's a migration for a different fuel source as we move forward. The negotiations with Avangrid, I have trusted, began before I was elected and was negotiated over several town council leaders. And I do want to thank the West Barnstable Civic Association for taking the initiative on their own, for hosting both Eversource and Avangrid in the same room to get some firsthand information, primary information. And I attended, and I will say that more than half of the people who were present were not West Barnstable residents. Nonetheless, they were welcomed to be the beneficiary of that information shared by the presenters. So I came to my decision in executive session, not for a lack of investment of time and energy, but that I feel that this is the best way forward. And I salute the negotiators for the town of Barnstable who did a magnificent job leveraging some benefits for the town that weren't on the table prior to that. Thank you.
Any other response to public comment from the left? Oh, Council Levesque.
Thank you, President Penn. Again, thank you for everybody who spoke today. And, difficult decisions, decisions that have been made prior, as was discussed by our legal department in 2021, 2022, Centerville Civic Association meetings where, again, these things were presented very much in public and discussed. And then, and people have a right to speak at any point in time and come to the table with information, so on and so forth. I will say there will be a containment at the substations that currently exists right now. Again, this is now done in the town of Barnstable. There's a connection at Colville's Beach. There's transmission lines that run up Craigville Beach Road, Strawberry Hill Road, Finney's Lane to Independence Park, where there already was a substation with tens of thousands of gallons of dielectric fluid sitting over a sole source aquifer. Again, contained by a very engineered and sophisticated. Thank you, Councilor Clark. Any other words that you can get me with? I appreciate it. So I appreciate that. And so that is there to protect, to make sure that flow of dielectric fluid that was spoken about from that into Aquaca Lake doesn't happen. So that will be present at the substation at Shoe Flying Hill Road. And I think that it's important. I think former members of the Aquaca Lake, I think they've spoke quite brilliantly. I've heard them, Alan, Fred, and I appreciate their perspective and their past leadership in regards to that and understanding the position that we were in regards to sewer. As far as the digging up of Main Street, Centerville, I think what things have been, again, just a reminder, is that when we made this decision, we knew that Centerville Main Street was going to be dug up anyway because of a sewer project, and that the sewer project was going to be much more disruptive construction-wise than any construction that would be done by Avangrid. Same as when we did the project for Vineyard Wind, first project at Colville's Beach, and again, what we did with the paving of the roads and laying the sewer lines out Craigville Beach Road, so on and so forth. I think people, you don't have to drive too far to figure out that that's been very disruptive. But we've laid those sewer lines in there, and we'll continue now to connect people into the sewer line to protect our water and remove nitrogen. So that same thing will happen exponentially and get somewhat paid for already through the this project. So I don't know where I am on my 3 minutes. I have somebody showing me 3 minutes, so I apologize.
You got 10 seconds.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do want to be sensitive to that and be fair. So with that, again, I appreciate everybody here. I hope I brought a little bit of perspective. This is an historic event, and I do appreciate everybody's courage that took to vote the way they did, because it was not an easy decision to make, and I believe that everybody tried to do the best they could with the facts that were put in front of them. Thank you so much.
Council Crowe?
Thank you, President Penn. There's a lot of motion here tonight for a good reason. I'm glad to see people who are so concerned about this, they come out and speak. This is not a win. This is a travesty, okay? It's a complete failure of public policy from here to Boston, in my opinion. These substations do not have to land, and the power lines don't have to land on beaches. We just had a profile in Courage from our Senator Sear declaring that a yes in my backyard for Truro, okay, but none of those wind power lines are going into Truro. It was in the paper today. They're going to either Pilgrim Power Plant or Boston. Okay, it's easy for him to say this is a win for everybody. There's a number of shibboleths that keep pushing out there, and I want to deflate some of those. Our high school teacher came up here again and talked about providing affordable and clean energy. This is neither. Wind power is one of the most expensive, subsidized type of energy we could ever have. Okay, and even BOEM, as has been mentioned by a number of people, have said this is going to do nothing for climate change. It's actually zero. So this is a vanity project, in my opinion. There are other ways to provide clean energy. We should be pursuing them and not wasting our treasure on this kind of boondoggle. I'd like to see that a high school professor or a high school teacher take Economics 101 and teach his students the same thing, because you'll find out that what they're doing is clean energy done dirty. And that's what I've said all along. There are ways to do that. They're going to go down this direction and spend this money and waste money on power. It's intermittent, and it's never going to solve our problems. Fine, but just don't go at the same time and dig up our beaches and dig up our villages, okay? And it's just a shame all around. I appreciate. It really hurts me to see Suzanne Conley has worked so hard on this, to be so upset, and she has a right to be. Okay, we're taking the cheapest way out. Avangrid's doing that, getting the cheapest route from where they're coming, and they're going to Eversource's new power station that they get a specified return above market levels, a return on investment, for building new versus using refurbishing old. We could be going to the Cape Cod power plant, just like Julian Sears saying, going somewhere else except Truro. Okay. This is not the way to go. This is not good public policy, and we're going to be the worst for it. Thank you for listening.
Anybody on my right? Council Ledke?
Thank you. I'll echo exactly what Councilor Crowe said. I'm in complete agreement with him. And I thought Hector Gunther said it well. It's a failure of process. I think the process in this entire endeavor from day one has been flawed. And someone else, I think it was Hector, also said, what is the rush? We're always rushing on this. There's always a deadline that doesn't exist. And when Avangrid saw that they were at a disadvantage, oh, they backed out. Well, why are they the only ones that can back out? I think we've given away our treasure, and I agree, we've handed them this contract on a silver platter. I'm not against renewable energy. I'm for it. And again, Councilor Crowe mentioned the cover story of the Cape Cod Times, where they're talking about the new leases out there off the National Seashore. But oh my goodness, no, we're not going to come ashore in Truro. I mean, really, it's disgusting. I think, Cliff Carroll, that's the word of the night. I think disgusting. This is, as I say, it's been flawed since day one. That's why I voted no on it. I think it's a flawed agreement. And I'm sorry, again, we just always seem to be rushing towards this, rushing towards mediocrity. And that's where we are.
Councilor Schnapp?
Thank you, President Ben. I didn't catch the speaker's name who spoke about her concerns about the traffic at the intersection across from the transportation center, but I'd like to ask if our assistant town manager during the town manager report could give us a little bit of information on what the town's plan is to address those concerns. Thank you.
Anybody else on my right? Councilor Turkelson?
I honestly don't know what to say. I spent most of the day thinking what I would say to everybody here. I think my vote is really says most of what I have to say, that would be publicly available and probably wouldn't alienate other people. Obviously, I'm concerned because the residents and constituents of my precinct are around Lake Woquacket. I also feel for the businesses in Main Street. I own a business. I'm a small business owner. When the pandemic hit and I closed, I realized that pandemic was going to kill my business. So I did what I had to do and I opened back up. But so it does weigh heavy on me. I've been going to the penny candy store since I was probably 3. So I think a lot of us in this room have been going to the penny candy store. So I'm sensitive to that. I really do hope Avangrid, and I'm going to look at Pat right now, and I'm calling to action, that you actually carry through with what you should do. And I wrote you 3 days ago and asked you why you haven't gone to the Barnacle or Craigville Sub and Pizza. Crickets. It's abhorrent. Because the amount of money that you make, you could pick it up and walk over there tomorrow and write those people a check, and it would go a long way in this community. You say you want to be a good neighbor, but like Cliff said, your track record is not great. You have a lot of work to do. Avangrid has a lot of work to do to get the 50% or more of us that are not in favor of this project. Supposedly, we're a vocal minority. I think that we've shown we're actually more of the majority. So I'd appreciate if Avangrid could come forward and actually do what they say they're going to do, fix what they need to fix. And I'm here to hold you accountable to that, because that's the only thing left here. We've signed it all away. So all of these people in this audience, they're going to be here every meeting, and they're going to ask every time, Pat, where is the check?
Council Ledke?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment following what Paula said. Conrad spoke about that same intersection, and I said before, that's where my son was hit by the car and slammed into the pavement at that same intersection. And perhaps we could address it like we do our school crossings. Maybe there could be a crossing guard, because that's not a signalized intersection, and it's absurd that it's not. And I think we need to take some action and put a person there that's going to better control and manage that traffic. I think it needs to be done. Whatever we need to do to step forward to put a person there, maybe in the busiest days, because what was described by the woman who spoke is exactly what happened to my son. He was coming off the transportation center, didn't have a license at the time, had to use public transportation, and came across the road and was hit. So we need to do something. We can't just keep, listening to it and doing nothing. And the second thing was Grove Harris. I thought that was a fascinating thing that I would like to run by the DPW, the gray water notion. We do all have septic systems, and then we're hooking up to the sewer. Couldn't we do a gray water? So I think it's a fascinating thing that I would like to hear from the DPW, what that would do to our flow numbers if we did some gray water solutions, because we've talked about the problem of mounding. I mean, showers, that kind of thing would certainly get a lot of water out of the system. Perhaps it's worth doing an analysis. So, Grove, thank you for that.
Thank you. Council Crowe, quickly.
I have just one more thing. Craig and Vice President Tamish can let me. We talked earlier before the meeting about some of these host community agreements, and Craig said there was one just signed down either in Long Island or New York for something like $170 million. Just want to know, we were fleeced, we were taken to the cleaners. We got $16 million.
All right. Councilor Tamish.
It's almost 7:30, so in the interest of time, I won't repeat what the other councilors have said, but, I just want people to know in Centerville that they were heard, and we listened to you, but what can we say? On a little bit different subject, some good news, perhaps. I just wanted to recognize Molly Sproul, who is a resident of Main Street, Centerville, is actually on the route. She was nominated as a 2024 Commonwealth Heroine. And a Commonwealth Heroine, I believe there were, about 100 women who were nominated and elected or put into this position and recognized by the Commonwealth. Women who work behind the scenes to make their communities better, who are often unrecognized and unsung, and I just wanted to make sure that she was recognized and that we appreciate her work in Centerville. Thank you.
All right, that ends our council response to public comment. Next, we have town manager communications, which was pre-recorded, this time by our assistant town manager, Mr. Clyburn. We have an outline of that here about the operating budget. But number 2 on here was very exciting for some people to hear, I think, which was the fact that they've been testing the preliminary tax bills and tested the software several times. And did you want to comment on that, Manager Clyburn, or would you like me to buffalo my way through this? Thank you for signing in.
Good evening, town councilors. Andy Clyburn, assistant town manager, filling in for Mr. Ells today, who's on a well-deserved vacation. We were very excited that the town treasurer, Sean O'Brien, has been successfully running the preliminary tax bills. It appears that the glitch that caused much concern, much pain, it seems all indications are it's been resolved. So that's a very good news on that front. I just met with Sean yesterday, and it seems like we're all on course for the bills to go out properly this year.
I think it's excellent.
Yep. If you'd like me to respond to Councilor Schnepp and Ludke, I hear the concern. I don't have the definitive answer for you. Clearly, we know where you're talking about. I don't know what, if any, is being addressed as part of the Great Streets project. There's a lot of work in that area, but clearly I'll meet with Chief and DPW tomorrow and discuss and report back appropriately. Yeah.
Coupling on Councilor Lutke's suggestion, we do have CSO officers during the summertime, and I'm wondering if certain shifts that might not be a bad idea. It is just treacherous.
Absolutely.
Treacherous.
Again, I'll meet with Chief tomorrow. She was here earlier, but they had a heck of an evening last night, as some of you probably know. So,
Yeah, it certainly could be coordinated with the transportation center, because she's exactly right. The people, the kids,
Yeah.
that are coming from out of town to Main Street.
Absolutely.
Are coming out of that transportation center. You do not, I don't know what you could do. Beyond my imagination, we haven't signalized that walk. I mean, it's a guessing game. Is the light going to turn? Is it not? I mean, my God. And putting kids in that situation and those that have to use the public transportation.
Agreed.
I mean, we've just got to do something.
It's not just kids, it's tourists too, because they have no clue how the traffic goes. And so why there was never a walk light there, this was brought up when Old Colony was first created, after it was a railroad bed, and it was never installed back in the 70s, okay, early 70s. So
Take it for action.
we've had a while to look at it. Thank you. I will just make one other comment about, you talked about lifeguards and which beaches are going to have them, et cetera. And at the Greater Hyannis Civic Association annual meeting, there was some, Mr. Ellis had brought up and talked about the beaches with lifeguards, et cetera, et cetera. There was some concern there from Hyannis residents that there's no lifeguards in Hathaway. So if anybody could take a look at that, I think that would be important, because a lot of families with really young children go to Hathaways, and
Understood.
it would be
It is a
important to do
challenge,
that.
but we'll make sure that.
I know you don't have all the answers, but just throwing that out there. We all set? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we need a motion to approve the minutes from June 6th.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. All right. Communications from elected officials, boards, committees, staff, commission reports, correspondence, and announcements. Anybody have any? I guess we kind of threw some in the last two things that we just discussed. So, Mr. Starr, Councilor Starr.
Mr. Brennan is here. Are you going to make some comment about the interns? Were you gonna, this is a good time to do it.
Okay, thank you. It was handed to me, but at the same time, I thought I was going to do it during council communications, but that's okay.
This is Councilor Communications.
Oh, yes, I understand,
We're
but I
there.
was going to do it myself, but that's okay. So at this point in time, I'd like to welcome Rob Brennan and his, I guess you would call them, I'm sorry, I was put on the spot there. So I'll just read what's put in front of me. So anyway, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a group of graduate and undergraduate college students with us tonight who are participating in the Massachusetts Housing and Climate Innovative Center's Summer All-Star Programs. The Housing and Climate Innovation Center was founded last year as Massachusetts' nonprofit organization with the mission of attracting, supporting, and leveraging innovative responses to the dual climate and housing crisis facing Cape Cod and the Commonwealth. Specifically, Mass HCIC facilitates the use of Cape Cod's natural and built environments as a proving ground to deploy, test, and evaluate innovative materials, products, technologies, and construction models, often referred to as the shelter tech, for new and renovated housing that can be simultaneously climate resistant, net zero, and affordable. Housing within Cape Cod Community College's Wilkins Science and Engineering Center, and working this summer with the Cape Cod Commission in the towns of Barnstable, and by the way, we were the first to commit to this program, Sandwich, Orleans, Chatham, and Eastham for 2024, Mass HCIC is building an innovative opportunity atlas, identifying in each town specific municipal priorities and unique challenges in addressing climate resilience, adaptation, decarbonization, and housing affordability, and 2, municipal buildings, assets, and natural coastal and inland resources that can serve as platforms for deploying and evaluating the efficacy of promising innovations that are ready to make the leap from the bench and into the field. As soon as this fall, the Innovation Opportunity Atlas will allow Mass HCIC to promote Cape Cod as a proving ground for shelter tech innovations. In turn, deploying, testing, and scaling innovations for climate resistance, climate mitigation, and housing affordability can help meet our region's most pressing challenges and facilitate broader adoption and global use of the innovations proven on Cape Cod. 2 students here tonight, Tess Shrivner and Abby Rupiano. Did I pronounce those correct? Very good. Not bad. We'll be working directly with our environmental sustainability manager, Sean Hogan, who's actually in the other room, to identify opportunities to demonstrate innovative approaches for resilient net zero and affordable housing here in Barnstable. So thank you so much for being here with us. I'm going to hand this over to Town Clerk Ann Quirk for official entering into the record. But I just want to thank you for being here. This is a program that was introduced to the town of Barnstable early on, and I and Vice President Cullum were very excited to be able to, at the time, be able to adopt this and invite you to be a part of, it was compared to the Cape Cod Baseball League and the greatest collegiate baseball players coming here to play baseball, live among us, entertain us, where you are here, the top of the crop as far as environmental and sustainability and housing technology, all that stuff that was read, that you are the superstars there. And we're happy to have you before you get drafted into the big leagues. So hopefully that analogy is true, and appreciate you being here. So thank you very much for taking part and helping Cape Cod and its blue economy. Thank you.
Are you done? Just checking.
Yeah, considering I was just
Thank
on the spot, I actually thought I did pretty good.
Any other communications? Councilor Schnapp?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to give a little update. We have 5 counselor slash registered voter committees that have commenced or are some have commenced work, and some have scheduled their meetings to begin. I know that as a representative on the Housing Committee, we'll be having our first meeting, I believe, on July 18th. I'm not sure if it's at 5? 5 o'clock. And if any of the chairs or members of other committees that have already met want to give us a brief summary of their activities to date, I'm sure that would be appreciated by both other council members and the public. Thank you.
Anybody else? Communications? No? We're all set? Okay. Excuse me, why don't we take a 10-minute break before we get into business? Is that right? All righty. Okay.
Some other time.
Hang in. Hello, everybody. We're going to get back to business here. Reconvene the meeting. Give a second for everybody to take their place. It's a long 10 minutes. We all good? All righty. So, first item under old business is item 2024-228. And there's going to be 2 amendments made to this. I hope, due to a death, as we all heard today during our moment of silence, and 2 students no longer here to be able to participate. By the way, Mr. Levesque, I think you need to recuse yourself from this item. I think he's okay. No, he's okay? Okay, fine. I take it back. His son actually resigned, so I don't think it really raises any. Okay, all right. What she said for the public is that his son actually resigned, so it doesn't raise an issue for him to be making decisions on his role, just so everybody knows what was said by the town attorney. Okay, so due to a death and 2 students no longer here to be able to participate, I ask for a motion to amend item 2024-228 by removing the reappointment of Peter Doyle to the Infrastructure and Energy Committee and the reappointments of Isabel Rudy and Cameron Levesque to the Youth Commission. So I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of that amendment, say aye. Thank you. So I'm going to now hand the gavel to, he's dangerous, Vice President Craig Tamish. And he will.
Okay, thank you for that, President Penn. I understand you have a further motion to make.
I do. I have a second amendment to make. Thank you for recognizing me. I make a motion to further amend item 2024-228 to remove the appointments to the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Appeals Committee and refer those appointments back to the Appointments Committee for further consideration. Anybody say? Oh.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment?
I just wanted to give a rationale on that, if I might, as to why that's going. The composition of the Appeals Committee is written that there'd be, where possible, 1 architect, where possible, 1 business owner, where possible, 1 Hyannis resident. So Hyannis business owner, Hyannis resident. And as this committee is constructed right now, there's a 3rd name on here that does represent a Hyannis business, but this person who is listed here as a Hyannis, resident of Hyannis, is not actually a resident of Hyannis. And so I would like to send this back to the Appointments Committee. So, because there have been applications received from Hyannis residents, so that we can fulfill the intent of the committee's mission. That's, if anybody wants to discuss or anything, that's
Any
it.
further, Councilor Vec?
Why isn't Aaron Webb listed as the business owner?
Because Amanda Converse is on as the business owner.
But I think that Aaron Webb was initially on as the business owner before Amanda Converse was named as the business owner.
He's listed as the Hyannis resident.
I don't think he was ever listed as a Hyannis resident, to be honest with you. He was listed as a business owner from the get-go because he was not a Hyannis resident. So why would he be nominated as a Hyannis resident into the former council if he
I'm
wasn't?
not
a
on the
Hyannis resident?
Appointments Committee, I can't answer your question.
I don't know, unless the appointments committee did something recently when they're reappointing, but he was on the appeals committee as a business owner. He was not known to the council, the former council, as a Hyannis resident at all.
Well, he's
Honestly, I know, I was the president of the council. I knew that he wasn't a Hyannis resident,
He's
so I wouldn't have put
listed
him
here
in
as a Hyannis resident,
But-
and that's inaccurate. So I just want this sent back to the Appointments Committee and let them do their job.
Well, he wasn't listed as that, is what that's my statement, and I'll stand by that.
But he is listed here as that.
I don't know who changed it.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that have happened that have changed
right.
since this new council took over. So I'm not surprised that it's there, because this is my belief, it's a political move, because there's been resistance in regards to his involvement for some time. So I don't know why this is here. It could have been a clerical error at best. So, but okay. He was originally listed as the business owner. If the Appointments Committee since has appointed a man of Congress as that, then that's the Appointments Committee's fault.
Okay. Councilor Neary.
Thank you, Vice President Tamish. I was on appointments when Mr. Webb was voted onto that committee as a Hyannis business owner. So there's some kind of snafu here. I don't know what has occurred.
Okay.
Maybe, I'm sorry,
Hey,
President
please,
Penn, but
one at a time.
Maybe, I'm sorry, Councilor Schnepp, who was the chair, could possibly, I don't know if that was the case when he was appointed, I'm not sure. If that was your time or was before your time.
I don't have
Schnepp?
enough. I don't remember.
Councilor Starr.
Thank you. I think we should move Allison Alessi forward as the architect. I see no reason to take her out. I mean, we need an architect. She's willing to serve. She's been chosen by the Appointments Committee, from what I understand. And I would make a motion to pull her out and keep her listed. I don't know how to say that.
Okay. Do we have a second for that?
The motion. Okay.
Well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
So right now, we have a motion on the floor to move forward only with the architectural appointment and to refer the other appointment back to the Appointments Committee for clarification. Is that correct? Would that
Yes.
be the substance of your motion?
Yes.
So that's the motion to amend. Right. Okay. Any discussion on that motion?
It's confused.
Councilor Turkelson.
Thank you, Vice President Tamish. As far as Allison staying on the committee, she does not need to be renominated to continue to serve in her role. So she passed the point of being reappointed. She continues in that role to either to the point where she is reappointed, or we were to nominate and elect somebody else to that position. So even if that doesn't pass, what you're saying, Gordon, she'll still continue on until this comes back. So that's one thing that's maybe unmuddies the waters. And as far as Councilor Levesque's point, I don't exactly remember all of the details, except for that if we now have put Amanda Converse in as a business owner, and we have Aaron Webb as a business owner, both in Hyannis, it would be probably best to send it back so that we can sort out where it's going, because we now have 2 business owners and no Hyannis residents in the committee. So whether we messed it up, whether it was a clerical error, I'd have to go back and look at the agendas and watch the tape again. But the only way to undo the fact that we now have Amanda as a business owner is to send this back so that we can sort out the details and clean it up.
Okay.
It's nothing particular to Aaron Webb. It's just that we'd like to have a Hyannis resident on there. And here we are with either a mistake, or it was handed to the committee in an incorrect manner. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that, and I can't speak to that because we've seen a lot of people and a lot of committees and a lot of ad hocs, so it's all kind of gets confused in your head when you do it that much. So thank you.
Councilor Burdick.
Maybe I should know the answer to this, but I don't. Is there not a Hyannis resident on that committee at the moment? Not one? Okay.
Okay. Councilor Schnepp.
Thank you, Vice President Tamish. Could I have some clarification on the original vote for this motion from the Appointments Committee? Our Appointments Chair is not here tonight, and I feel a little concerned about voting on this without his input.
Thank you.
Councilor Carr?
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Vice Chair of the Appointments Committee, I do echo what Councilor Turkelson said, is that we've been busy meeting because of the ad hoc committees, which jumped in front of the reappointments on our agenda. We've seen a lot of people, so I have to admit that I would not want to make any judgment until I look at the minutes, and it could have been a mistake. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You have Councilor Turkelson.
As far as, Councilor Schnepp, as far as this works, what came before us, partly as a result of all of the ad hocs and the amount of hours that took to organize that on Cindy's end, and then actually physically doing the interviews, what happened was the chair made a decision that basically and this is probably good knowledge for everybody here to understand, and I think it probably precedes this group's, or maybe not, and I would love for you to speak to that, that any committee that didn't have somebody else who expressed interest, that we would just automatically reappoint them. So you see this big mass of people. There were no other people applying for these positions, so it kind of just got thrown forward, and here we were. In doing so, when this hit the agenda, it was noted that we no longer had a Hyannis resident because we put Amanda Converse as a Hyannis business owner. So it came out of that. There was never a vote. It just became an issue of correctness as far as how the committee is put together. So here we are at this moment dealing with it. Well, there was no vote per se. It's just that this whole mass of things we all said, yep, we'll just reappoint these people, and that's how we got to this point. So, as opposed to re-interviewing all these people and then reappointing them.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Neary?
Thank you, Vice President. So just a question. So is Amanda Converse new to that? She's brand new. So she wasn't a reappointment that had not been already seated?
Councilor Turkelson.
Okay.
So again, I'd have to go back and look at the agenda and the tape. So my estimation is, and probably recalling how this happened, was we received a list of open positions, which was a Hyannis business member. She applied, she interviewed, and she was put in. It could be that maybe she was applying not as a resident, and she should have been put in the resident spot, not the business spot. So, I mean, my point is literally this is a mess, and that's why I think we should send it back to review the tape, go back and, see what we can do, because, again, the intent is we'd like to have a Hyannis resident representing Hyannis in this board, as opposed to just two business owners and no Hyannis residents. So here we are with a clerical error, a miscommunication on the agenda. Again, I'd have to go back and look.
Councilor Starr?
Thank you. I think this discussion, we're supposed to be discussing my motion.
Correct.
So let's vote on my motion, and then we can go back to your discussion, just before it gets too muddled, I think. Or the legal department runs away. Okay. I don't know. Okay.
Councilor Burdick?
I was going to move the question, so
Okay.
move it.
Okay, the question has been moved. All in favor of moving the question, please indicate aye.
Can I move the question for the motion? The amendment to the amendment to the amendment?
You might want to just withdraw that for approval.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
If the council discussion is, if you're all ready, then you would vote on Councilor Starr's motion to amend Councilor Penn's motion.
Okay. Okay, is everyone clear on Councilor Starr's amendment to the main motion?
No, it's the amendment
To the amendment to the amendment, correct. Okay,
I'd like it restated, please.
all right.
Basically, I would like to have Allison Alessi's name removed from the motion so that she can move forward and we can reappoint her in this group.
So it's to amend Counselor Penn's motion by only referring back Aaron.
Okay. Okay, does everyone understand the motion now?
I'm sorry, I should have written it down. I didn't realize this.
So the motion is to amend Counselor Penn's motion to such that only Aaron Webb's appointment would be referred back to the Appointments Committee for further consideration. So that's the motion to amend the motion, so that's the first vote that you would be taking.
Okay.
I'm going to stay here.
All right, all in favor indicate by raising their hands. All right. All opposed? One. The amendment passes. Now we will move back to the main.
No, so now that
Amendment.
motion has been amended, so now you are voting on
The amended.
on the motion as amended.
Okay,
Because that was just to change the motion that was on
correct.
the table.
Okay.
Now
Any
you've changed
further
it.
discussion on the motion as amended? Counselor Schnapp?
Thank you, Vice President. I just have a question on what the Appointments Committee believes will be their process. Are you going to open up the opportunity for everybody to apply, or do you already have a preset group of applicants at this point in time?
The chair of the appointments is not present tonight, but as vice chair, I'd say that we would be welcoming to interview whoever cares to apply for both those positions, the one for the Hyannis resident and the one for the Hyannis business owner.
We already have a Hyannis business owner.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right.
Could I
Okay,
clarify that, based on Councilor Turkelson's description of the process, which I understand was very complex given the number of duties you had this spring, that there was nobody who expressed interest at the time that you took this vote? There were no candidates for the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Appeals Committee when you took the vote on the reappointments to board committees and commissions?
Counselor Turkelson?
We had people interested who were residents. Again, I think the problem here is to try to reconstruct through my brain what happened. I think we'd be best to send this back, review the tape, and be democratic about this. I mean, I don't know where the error is. Honestly, it could have been that we voted a business owner on thinking that Aaron Webb was a Hyannis resident, because it might have been written as a Hyannis resident, and maybe, I don't have no idea, Councilor Schnapp, and so I don't even want to pretend like, I think we just want to clean it up, review the tape. We do actually have Hyannis residents who want to serve on this board, and the point is right now, we have no Hyannis residents on this board. In being true to what the committee structure is, I think that the effort, and that we would, as a council, want to recommend that we be as true to those descriptions as we can, and maybe we don't have any Hyannis residents that want to apply. Maybe we reach back out to those people and they say, nope, no way, and Aaron Webb becomes reappointed because he's still interested in serving, and we make the exception that although he's not a Hyannis resident, he's a Hyannis business owner, and that's how he gets back on the board. I think we need to deconstruct this and be fair about it to everybody.
I'm curious why the motion wasn't made by a member of the Appointments Committee and not by the President of the Council.
Because I live in Hyannis and they don't? I don't know.
So
Right.
it wasn't a concern of the Appointments Committee that this go back, but it was a concern of a Hyannis counselor that this be reconsidered.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Counselor Burdick?
I'll move the question.
Okay. On the amendment.
I thought we already did the
No,
end.
you
This is
still-
still
no,
the end.
Just the
You
amendment.
voted to amend the motion, now you're
Putting
voting
on
on
the
the motion
amendment.
as amended.
No.
All right.
Motion as amended, okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, as amended, to send the appointment of Aaron Webb back to the Appointments Committee for the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Appeals Committee. All in favor? Please indicate by raising the hand. Okay. All opposed? One, okay. The motion does pass as amended. Now we will return to the main motion,
We
okay?
already did that. No? Okay.
Any further discussion on the main motion for the reappointments to a Board of Commission, Article number 2024-228? Any further discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Excuse me, do you have discussion?
I just had a point of order. Isn't it the motion as amended by Councilor Starr?
I said.
Okay.
I did say
All right.
that. Motion as amended, yes.
The vote that you will be
I thought we did that already.
We did say that.
Yeah, the vote that you'll be taking when you're ready to take it is on the main item as amended
As
by the
amended.
two amendments that you
Right. All right. Any further discussion? Okay. Okay. All in favor of 228 as amended, please indicate. All opposed? The motion does pass. I will return the gavel to President Penn.
Thank you, Vice President Tamish, for that. Next on.
Thank you.
It wasn't easy, that's a first. Okay. Next on old business, item 2024-229. Councilor Clark, do you want to read that?
Thank you. Yes, I would. Thank you very much, President Penn.
Is your mic on?
Yes, it is. Sorry. Appointments to a board committee commission, the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, Perry Wentworth as an alternate member to a term expiring 6/30/2026, Conrad Watson as an alternate member to a term expiring 6/30/2026, Disability Commission, Eileen Elias as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2027, Ina Podgomnara Maya as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2027. And the Housing Committee, Eileen Elias as an alternate member to a term expiring 6/30/2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Looks unanimous. Thank you. All right, under new business. This is originally scheduled for a first reading to refer to second reading. Is there anybody interested in suspending the rules to vote this in this evening? If not, we'll follow protocol. Yes?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Turkelson and a second by Councilor Clark to suspend the rules and vote this evening. All those in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Who wants to read the motion, the main motion? Councilor Turkelson, why don't you do that, since you're on appointments?
This is an item of new business, not being referred to a second reading due to the suspension of the rules. Item 2024-230, appointments to a board committee commission. And this is for the Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee. Jeremy Shea is a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2027. To the JFK Memorial Trust Fund Advisory Committee, Wendy Northcross as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2025.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous vote. Item 2024-231. Council Burdick, would you like to read this?
Surely. It's an item of new business and may be acted upon by a majority vote. Item 2024-231, authorization to contract for and expend fiscal year 2024 grant in the amount of $74,085.24 from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection for the purpose of funding the purchase of equipment that will be used to prevent, locate, and respond to oil spills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you like to speak to this?
Good evening. Brian Taylor, Harbor Master for the town of Barnstable. The Massachusetts DEP has awarded us a grant for $74,085.24 for the purchase of 4 headsets to detect oil spill response at night in low light environment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
So these are portable units, not mounted on a boat or whatever?
That's correct.
Okay.
Portable, they're mounted actually on your head, and they come down as goggles.
Okay.
And this is a reimbursable grant, so I'm assuming that we,
That's correct. There's no match to the town.
okay. Great. Any other questions? Council Neary.
Thank you, Madam President. Who found the grant?
Thanks for bringing that up, Councilor Neary. So one of my assistant harbor masters that works for me found the grant and helped me apply for the grant. So appreciate his support. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions about where they're going to use it or anything else? No? All righty. Ready to vote? All those in favor? Excellent.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Item 2024-232. Council Turkelson, would you read this? I meant Council Tamish, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The wrong T.
Okay, this is new business, may be acted upon with a majority vote. Item number 2024-232, a resolve approving Mark S. Ells outside employment with Cape Cod Community College. Resolved in accordance with Section 7 of the employment agreement between the town of Barnstable and Mark S. Ells, effective July 1st, 2021, the Barnstable Town Council does hereby approve Mark S. Ells outside employment with Cape Cod Community College, the college, to allow him to continue teaching at the college for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you for that. Council Crowe, would you like to read item number 2024-233?
Thank you, President Penn. This is item of new business. It's 2024-233. It may be acted upon, and if by majority vote, resolve adopting a policy on the use of town cell phones and email by town councilors.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Attorney Nober.
Thank you, President Penn. Karen Ober, Town Attorney. The state public records law applies to all records made or received by any officer or employee of the town. Unless a statutory exemption applies, those records are subject to disclosure upon request. As elected officials, town councilors are subject to these laws, but it has been the longstanding practice for nearly every councilor to use personal cell phones and personal email accounts to conduct town business. So that means that when public records requests are received, councilors must conduct their own searches of their own devices for any responsive records. Councilors have different degrees of expertise in conducting such searches, and searches conducted by more than one councilor have not always produced consistent results. As a general rule, for records requests involving staff records, information technology staff usually conducts the necessary email searches rather than having individual employees conduct those searches. It is preferable to have all town business conducted on town devices so that IT staff can conduct the necessary searches and can assist with searches of town-issued cell phones without having to search someone's personal cell phone. Town emails are also backed up on the town server. And in addition, and this actually came up fairly recently, once a counselor leaves office, the town has no ability to access their personal accounts to respond to a records request and to ensure that records retention requirements are followed. So having town counselors utilize town email and town cell phones for town business would facilitate and ensure compliance with the public records law. So the recommendation is that the council adopt the proposed policy that's before you, requiring counselors to use town email and town cell phones for the conduct of town business, and that your use of such resources would be subject to the existing town policy that covers IT resources. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you. And I think Jim Benoit is here as well, our IT director.
Questions? Councilor Schnepp.
Thank you, Madam President. I notice there's no fiscal impact on this item. Is there, I don't know if that's something Jim would have an answer for?
Actually, well, Jim, do you want to address that? I thought it was on the, I don't think there's an actual dollar amount, but.
Sure, yeah. The fiscal impact will be picked up in the existing IT budget. So we would cover the cost of the purchase of the phones, and then with offsets, we can cover the annual cost.
Councilor Tamish.
I would just like to say I think this is probably way overdue for the simple reason that, you know, in my past life, having officers have to produce their phones for in response to a subpoena was not exactly a pleasurable experience for many of them. Not quite the same as a public records request, but it should all be done on town equipment and town emails.
I think it's the right thing to do.
Councilor Neary.
Thank you, Attorney Nova. She knew this was coming. Sometimes I like to think big ball, and sometimes I like to think small. So I think as a service to our constituents, it's about being available. In my particular case, I've got 4 different emails, and I get between 60 phone calls a day and somewhere around 200 emails a day. It's just my personal position. And I know there is a fiscal component to this, so I would prefer to take that money and maybe put a police officer at that intersection at the end of Main Street with this money. I know I might be being a little bit fresh here, but unfortunately, at the work level that I have, for me to carry around another phone, it would, in my particular case, I think I'd be doing a disservice to my constituents. It'll end up in a drawer with a dead battery, most likely. That's just my thoughts on that. So, sorry, Karen.
That's okay. I carry around 2 phones, I would just like to mention.
I have a question, if I might. When I ran for office, and maybe Mr. Benoit would be able to answer this, I actually got a second phone for town business. It's obviously my personal phone, but it has a separate number for my personal numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Would the town be able to take this phone, you know, wipe it off, give me a new number, do whatever to it, so you don't have to buy me a new phone? Or can we just discuss this one-on-one some other time?
We use Verizon for our town cell phone plans, so I would have to check if the phone is compatible. It's possible, but I can't give a definitive answer.
Yeah, okay. I was afraid of that. It's not a Verizon phone. Councilor Turkelson.
Will we be able to have our, like I did the same thing as Felicia, will we be able to have that number ported over to the town Verizon account so that obviously, you know, we've been sending out information to our constituents with certain numbers on it, and now to undo that will be kind of a hassle?
Jim, I think that's you.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but again, I can't give you a definitive answer on that, but I'm pretty sure that the numbers can be ported over to it.
Council Lilkie?
Yes, I agree with Councilor Tamish that this is way overdue. Every job I've been at, you always have an employer-issued electronic device, always, to keep that separate. So I think this is well overdue. Maybe there's a burden associated, but it's well worth it to maintain the records. And I know there's been problems with finding records through the town, and I think we owe it to our constituents to have all the records readily available on town-monitored devices, absolutely. And my question is, how quickly would this be enacted?
Well, the policy is drafted as effective July 1st. We were lining it up with the fiscal year, but I don't know how long it would actually take IT to do this for you.
Yeah, no, I'm completely in support of this. As I say, understanding Councilor Neri's the burdens and, people I've done separate things myself, but I think we absolutely need to do this.
Council Burdick?
I agree. I don't think it's a bad idea, but does it have to be a requirement? And can we legally be required to do it? By the action of this council as an elected official?
Well, you would be voting a policy for the council. You would be taking a vote on whether this is a town council policy. And again, you are all required to comply with state law on public records. And I think it's actually very difficult to do that using personal devices.
I think you're the only council with a town council email address, are you not?
Because I foresaw this very thing being a problem for the open meeting law.
You're too
so
funny.
I got my own email address.
Good for you. Council Starr?
Thank you. So my question is, I can see if I send a text message to another counselor, it would show up. What if I call another counselor? Is that something that's important? Is that information important to keep, that I actually made a phone call at 10:15 on a Tuesday morning? It doesn't record what I said. Do I have to use a town phone to do that?
I think the use of the town phone is more important with respect to text messages.
Okay. More important, or, okay.
Well, with respect to call, a call is a call, yeah. If we got a records request for, a call log and we were able to produce the calls you made, it would just show that you made a call. It obviously wouldn't show anything more than that.
Yeah.
That is a record that if the town could produce that, you would be expected to produce. I don't know that we get very many requests for that, but I have seen it.
It wouldn't give you much information.
Yeah, I think as a practical matter, the issue is really more text messages in terms of the use of the phone. And emails are huge, and we back everything up on the town server. So if we get a request, we know we're producing, we know we're properly responding.
Yeah, thank you.
Council Schnapp?
Just to continue on the kind of logistics, will we have an app on our phone that gives us direct linkage to our email, our town email account, or how will we facilitate using our email? Is it Outlook?
Yeah, so it would either be through the native mail client on the phone or through a Microsoft Outlook app on your phone.
Council Clark?
Thank you. Just for clarification, I think I know the answer to this, but for business done as an elected official using the town-issued email address and town-issued phone, if a counselor was choosing to run for re-election, that would not...
You could not use town devices or town resources for political purposes. You would have to do that with your own devices.
That's part of the training we would go through, I would assume, or already have signed on to.
Yeah, and I think I called that out in the policy. But it's in the town policy as well, because none of us can use our phones for political purposes. And that would include the council.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I would think that somebody asked a question about how long would this take to take effect or whatever. The fact that we vote this as of July 1st makes sense that the policy is in place, But I would think that we would have several months or by the end of the calendar year or whatever to comply, whatever Mr. Benoit comes up with. You know, I imagine 2-3 months or something, or whenever he can get the phones ordered, et cetera. So my phone does not use Verizon as a carrier, so that wouldn't happen here. So,
I would, well, I don't want to speak for Jim, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
think it would take months to switch over, would it?
Yeah, I mean, potentially it could be a few weeks to a month,
okay.
potentially.
So you're thinking by Labor Day kind of thing?
Yeah, that's certainly possible.
Councilor Tamish?
Attorney Noble, should we change the effective date on this perhaps? Because if we're still using our private phones and private emails after July 1st, we're technically in violation of the policy, correct?
You can certainly make that amendment and change the date, sure,
To,
if you'd like to do that.
no. Perhaps August 1st, would that, Jim, would August 1st be reasonable, August 15th?
Yeah, I'd say August 1st would be doable.
Okay. Okay, I would like to amend this to make an effective date of August 1st, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend the effective date to August 1st of 2024 for the policy to take effect. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes. So now do we want to vote on the motion as amended?
So moved.
Okay, it's
You
been
already
moved
have
and
the- you already
seconded.
have the
We already
motion.
did that, but that's
You already
okay.
have that.
It's doubly on the floor. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you, Jim Benoit, for hanging in there. Okay, next item on the agenda. Item number 2024-234.
I'll do it.
Mr. Councilor Starr, do you want to read this one?
Yes, please. This is a new business may be acted upon with a majority vote, number 2024-234. Resolve approving the fish weir applications for Jacob Angelo, a resident of West Barnstable.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You here to speak to this item also?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Town Council. It's Brian Taylor, Harbor Master for the Town of Barnstable. So this is a Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries application for weirs, pound nets, and fish traps. We currently have an individual that has 2 of these applications out right now, and that's Nantucket Fish Weirs, Inc. That's located in Nantucket Sound. The proposed applications are for the exact same location, just different time periods within that location. So, Director Poyant, could you just bring up the locations for me, please? Okay, so a little difficult to see on the screen here. Can everyone see that on their screen? Okay, so the orange marker that's in close right off Hyannisport is the current existed location of one of our applications. And then we have another one off of Centerville Harbor, and that's the other location of an existing permit that we have. Mr. Angelo is coming forward today to file a permit in the same exact locations, different time period. The current permit we have in effect is from March through June, and through the Waterways Committee, we saw this twice at the Waterways Committee. This proposal, which was recommended by the Waterways Committee, are from the dates of September 8th through the end of November, and for a period of 1 year. Our current existing permit that we have with Nantucket Fish Weirs is for 5 years, but this did go to the Waterways Committee. We talked about it at 2 meetings, and they proposed that we do it for 1 year from the dates of September 8th through the end of November. And I do have Mr. Angelo present here as well.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions? Councilor Starr.
First of all, I want to thank you for the maps. It's always nice to know exactly where they're going. So what is the past practice? I mean, we've had weirs for hundreds of years. When you give somebody like a lease, is it usually for 1 year, or is it something?
So the past practice for the town of Barnstable has been 5 years with
Okay.
Nantucket fish weirs. That's correct.
So what was the waterways rationale for limiting this one to 1 year?
So due to some of the time period, which is located in near Labor Day and up until November, they thought there was some navigation concerns there, and so they moved the date past Labor Day to September 8th.
So my question was, why is the lease only for 1 year?
Okay, so your question is why the lease is for 1 year? The reason why the Waterways Committee wanted to do it for 1 year to see if any of the concerns they thought of moving the date up were going to occur within that 1 year, and they would come back to town council, and if there was no issues, we could go in for a 5-year permit.
So this is a trial basis,
That's correct.
basically.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Council Lucky.
Yes, I had a lot of concerns from constituents in my precinct, which is the Hyannisport area, and there was a lot of the concerns addressed with being close to Labor Day and a lot of the boats transiting that area. And I had a lovely conversation with Mr. Angelo. He reached out to me, and he answered all my questions, and I went back to my constituents, and I just love the way this process was handled, and I find him to be astoundingly informed and so professional. And I am completely in support of this, and I love the deliberative process on how you went about this, and it only seems good to me. I mean, if you talk to him, he's just amazing, and I wish him the best with this. He has every intention is absolutely what they should be, and he's going to do this in the right spirit, and it's fantastic.
Any other questions? Councilor Turkelson.
Thank you, President Penn. It's actually a question for Mr. Angelo. Do you anticipate that changing the dates will impact what you will be catching as far as amount? I'm sure that those were probably maybe questions that Betty's constituents asked, but.
Yeah, so the reason I'm changing the dates from what is already in place is because the site is already permitted to somebody who can use it at that time of year, so I can't use it that time of year. Being in New England, the fish migrate in the spring and then they migrate again in the fall. So the spring and the fall are the two prime times to use this type of gear. Being nobody uses it in the fall, I'd like to take advantage of that. One thing I wanted to just make clear is that I'm asking all the council members to override the Waterways recommendation and make it the day after Labor Day in a 5-year customary lease, because the amount of money that it takes to get this thing going, it doesn't justify me putting myself out there for a 1-year trial period and then I get the rug pulled out from under me. So.
Interesting. So what you're asking for, when is Labor Day this year? The 3rd? So you're asking for this to start on the 4th
Yeah, whatever
versus the
day
8th?
after Labor Day. The latest it will ever be would be the 8th, and the earliest it would ever be would be the 2nd. But at least, that way all the kids are back in school. But it also gives me the maximum amount of time to get the gear out there and fish and make it worth it. Because the fixed date of 8, a lot of years could be anywhere from a week to half a week difference, which is the setup time.
Councilor Neary?
Just as a response, and I appreciate your request, I'm on the Waterways Committee, the liaison. You got a good committee there.
Mm-hmm.
And, technically, Waterways is strictly regarding hazards to navigation. You're in a new time period of the year. So I just think it's prudent to do it. I know that, my mother used to tell me 98% of the things that we fear, we think are going to happen, don't. So I would suggest that you don't be concerned about that. I would be more concerned about making this thing profitable for yourself, and I'm sure that they will support you. You've got a good crew on that Waterways Committee, and I would I would be surprised unless you had some kind of outrageously crazy event that occurred. You know, somebody drove into the thing, that it would be renewed for a longer period of time. That's just my opinion on it, knowing that committee.
Okay.
And I wish you the best of luck.
So when would Waterways take this up again for renewal, so he wouldn't have to remove the gear and then put it back, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, what would it be if he gets a license for a year? Would he be able to go 6 months, you know, after it?
Yeah.
I mean, or, I know it's only up there for a certain time or whatever, but only for one time. It just does seem like a tremendous investment for a short period of time, from September to the end of November.
So he would need to remove the fish weir setup every year, regardless of.
Oh, he would have to anyway.
That's correct. So
I'm
he would
sorry.
have to remove it, although he is going to purchase the gear in advance. So he's going to have to remove it, though. It's only for the length of time within the permit for the months that he's proposed.
Councilor Tamish.
I can certainly appreciate Mr. Angelo's concerns, but I agree with Councilor Neary that we have committees for a purpose, and the committee's recommendation is that it be for a one-year trial purpose, and, you know, I think I would go along with their recommendation.
Councilor Lucky.
I would like to entertain and I guess propose the motion. I like his thinking that the day after Labor Day, since it is movable, and I think that makes perfect sense, the way he did discuss that with me on the phone. I would like to propose that as an amendment to this, that the date be the day after Labor Day versus the 8th of September.
I'll second that.
So this motion is second. So that would be, day after Labor Day would be September 3rd this year, according to my calendar. So eyes in 5 days. So that's what your
That would be my
proposed
amendment,
amendment
yes.
is. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. More discussion on the amendment?
So I would agree with Ms. Lutke that it's going to come back to us in a year anyway, isn't it? If it's only for 1 year, it'll go through Waterways again and then come back to us, so we can change it if we need to then. But I think the day after Labor Day is fair. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of amending the motion that the requested date of operation begins September 3rd? 2nd? Wait a minute. September 3rd.
The amendment would be that it begins the day after Labor Day with no set date. That way it...
Oh, forever.
Forever.
It would be written in there. Okay. I'm sorry. So for all those in favor for voting to change the start date of this to the day after Labor Day, rather than as it's written here as September 8th, signify by saying aye. Okay, so the motion is amended. One no. Okay, so we're ready to vote on the amended motion. No other discussion. All those in favor? Passes.
For 5 years?
1 year.
You get half of what you asked for.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's like worth, you know, it's hard to invest in something like that for just 1 year. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 2024-225. Count 235, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Councilor Schnepp, did you want to read this? Is your mic on, please?
This is an item of new business referred to a public hearing on July 18th, 2024. Item number 2024-235, appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $250,000 in community preservation funds for the purpose of acquiring a conservation restriction on a 5.84 acre open space parcel located at 4609 Falmouth Road, Katuitt, and shown on Assessor's Map 24, parcel 42, as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to refer this to a public hearing on July 18th. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor to refer? Nobody opposed? All right, motion carries. Oh, man. I'm getting there, I'm sorry. Yep. Again, a first reading referring to a second reading on 718, item number 2024-236. Council Neary, do you want to read this? You're having such a good time.
Thank you, Madam President. I see what you were going through over there. Okay. This is new business. It's a first reading. We're going to refer to a second reading on July 18th, 2024. It's item number 2024-236. It's an order authorizing the town manager to enter into and execute on behalf of the town an amendment to the employment contract between the town and Mark Milne, as written.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to refer this to July 18th. Any discussion on the referral? All those in favor? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item number 2024-237. Council Crowe?
Thank you, President Penn. This is an item of new business to refer to a public hearing on 7/18/2024. It's item number 2024-237, appropriation order in the amount of $37,000 for the purpose of funding the town's share of the costs related to the installation of 37 electric vehicle charging stations in public parking lots in and around the village of Hyannis.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to refer to a public hearing on July 18th. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Passes. Next, we have item number 2024-238. Council Bloom. We're on page 54.
Thank you, Madam President. This is new business that may be acted upon by a majority vote. Item number 2024-238, confirming reappointments to the Affordable Housing / Growth and Development Trust Fund Board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions of as written here? Council Lutke.
I just had one comment, if it would be, that I would hope that this board takes the new philosophy that we discussed some weeks ago. There seems to be a pattern that they award only to large developers, and when smaller developers come forward, their path to funding is always more difficult. That's it. I just think that we ought to have the equity that this board recognizes smaller developers as they do the larger developers, and we see more equity in
I
the
appreciate
awards.
that, but I think that's for a future discussion some other time if we want. So we're just doing the,
Okay.
okay? I mean, I don't think your point's out of order, but it's just for the vote that's in front of us here, okay? Any discussion about what's on the page here? Council Levesque?
I was just going to disagree with what Council Lucky said, but you stopped it, so thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of confirming the reappointments to the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund Board? It's unanimous, thank you. Item number 2024-239, approve, Councilor Levesque, do you want to read that?
Sure. Thank you, President Penn. This is new business, may be acted upon, majority vote. This is item number 2024-239, approving the appointment of David Anthony, the town's Director of Asset Management, to serve as the town's representative on the Cape and Islands Vineyard Electric Cooperative, Inc.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Discussion? All those in favor? I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Thank you. I was just going to ask who is serving in that capacity at this time.
I think David Anthony has been unofficially serving in that capacity. Charlie McLaughlin, former assistant town attorney, was serving in that capacity for a number of years. He was involved and instrumental in creating CVEC, and so he was the town's representative on that board. And so David has been doing it, but he needs to be official. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Good to know. All right, so does that prompt any other discussion from anybody? No? Okay. All those in favor of the appointment? Now you're official.
You're legal, David.
And 2024-240, we're going to refer this to a public hearing on July 18th. Who wants to read this in? Council Burdick.
Yes, because this is the last item, I will happily read this one. Item 2024-240, appropriation order in the amount, or to be referred for public hearing, sorry. Appropriation order in the amount of $1,150,000 in Community Preservation Act funds authorizing the acquisition of property located at 211 Cedar Tree Neck Road, Marston's Mills, for open space and recreation purposes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to refer to a public hearing on July 18th. All those in favor? Thank you for that. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motions and seconds for that. All those in favor? See you on the 18th, and happy 4th of July.